Since kindergarten, the question I've been asked the most is, what do you want to be when you grow up? My whole life, sport has been the place that I go to express my passion for physical activity, competitiveness, teamwork, and self improvement. I proudly told anyone who asked me that big question, I want to be an Olympian, a professional athlete. It was only when I really started to chase this dream that I noticed that there would be more obstacles in my way than just a lack of pure talent and skill. I realized that my dream Olympian status would need to be accompanied by a real life career. Growing up as a female athlete in Western culture, I've learnt that I can't earn a living playing basketball, even at the highest level. No matter what my teammates and I achieve, it will never be valued in the same light as the men's teams. All these years involved in sport have made me aware of what Gordon Allport would call my in-group identification with female athletes. What you might not expect is that instead of noticing my out-groups, I've actually grown to be more aware that within the sporting world, my own personal in-group is in fact the out-group. I've seen it firsthand the ways that female athletes are taught from a young age to accept the fact that our efforts will always be second to male sports. As the spotlight of attention shines on male athletes, we are left in the shadows, never encouraged to fully adopt an athletic identity. For me, the thing that I've noticed most contributing to this is the unequal treatment of female athletes and perceptions that female sports don't contest with male sports.
Research has shown that masculine hegemonic systems in sport reinforce not only the concept of male dominance, but also the subsequent idea that female athletes are a sideshow to male athletes. Since the Title IX amendments of 1972, the participation rates of females in sports has risen. The image this creates of equal opportunities for both men and women in sport is shown by the research of Ross and Chanou to be an illusion. Title IX may have attempted to prohibit discrimination, but it failed to address the deeply ingrained beliefs that Western society holds. Even female athletes themselves notice the perceptions of inequality in sport, especially within their college communities where they feel their sporting endeavors are trivialized and seen as inferior to men's.
I think society views women's sports as kind of like an activity in comparison to boys, which they think is like, big deal, big money. And like for girls, it's kind of like, oh, they're just playing basketball. It's nothing, no big deal. They don't get paid for it that much. It's just a little hobby to the side.
Ultimately, male dominance in sport is reinforced by two key factors. The first is an absence of powerful women in sport, and the second, the powerful pecking orders of sports administrations that stick to traditional gender ideologies. These two factors prevent traditions of hegemonic masculinity from being challenged strongly enough to spark downstream change through the collegiate level where female athletes experience the consequences.
Reagan and I try not to let society's perception of male dominance in sport affect our love for the game. But as hard as we try to keep these ideas in the back of our minds, the constant reminders of inequality bring up this feeling of inferiority. They are what make me look to the boys' team, whose locker room is right across from ours, and wonder how things might be different if I had the same opportunities as them.
I notice male dominance in sports, for an example, in our locker room. Our locker room has one TV, and then we go in the boys' locker room to use their cold tubs, and they have four. And I don't understand. We should have equal stuff. I also noticed male dominance on social media. The other day, when I was watching the women's championship game, I noticed people were saying, why is this game even on? In comparison to, like, if North Carolina is playing, they're going to be like, oh my god, everybody check out the game.
Sometimes it's even small comments that remind me of the stereotypes about female inferiority in sport. When my family or cousins come to watch me play for the first time, the comments after the game always go something like, wow, you guys are great, I can't believe how physical the game is. And a lot of the time I don't read too much into it, but when it happens over and over again, it highlights for me the presence of these ideas about male dominance in sport. To me, it feels like they never expected to see such a high level of competition at a women's game. My transition into college has been an important time where I've started to identify myself differently to people who ask me the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? If you ask me specifically about my sporting goals, yes, my answer will be the same. But my first response now is a psychiatrist, and according to the research, I'm not alone in this change.
Ross and Chanou have found that while male adolescents want to be remembered as famous athletes, it is more common for female adolescents to want to be remembered as leaders and high-level students. Myers' research suggests that within the college sportswomen's culture, there's a strong focus on academics and a common habit to identify as a student rather than an athlete. Studies have shown that female athletes feel like they gain no recognition or social reinforcement from their athletic efforts, so even for those with prior aspirations to professionalize in their given sport, focus shifts to the prospect of a real-life job.
in my past, I consider myself more sports orientated. Like in high school, I felt like I was like, okay, I'm gonna be in the WNBA, I'm gonna be in college. Like all I care about is basketball. I don't really care about school. And then more so when I got to college, I was more like, oh, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon because I feel like I can do more with my life with that instead of playing basketball. Because in women's basketball, they don't make as much as an orthopedic surgeon would. So that's what I feel. I feel like it's hard for a woman to fully devote her like life to being her focus, her goals on being I'm gonna make it to the WNBA because it's not gonna be the same as it was for a man.
After moving up into college basketball, my strong focus on developing my identity as an athlete has shifted. Could I really become a professional? There's a chance, but it's slim and definitely needs a backup plan. So yes, I've pushed my academic identity ahead of my athletic one, knowing that demand for my skills in the workplace is much higher than on the basketball court. The important question for me now is, what am I playing for and will this help me in the future?
Stories of successful male athletes are everywhere, televised, advertised, and promoted daily. In order to find female success stories in sports professions, you have to look to the best of the best, to people like Serena Williams and Diana Taurasi. In today's Western culture, you rarely get to see even highly successful female collegiate athletes pursuing a professional path within their sport. Between all the social and financial inequality that exists, it becomes clear why female athletes view the full adoption of an athletic identity as an extremely risky decision.
Even though my goal is still to be a pro basketballer, when I'm part of teams with older teammates and see the challenges they face with balancing their sporting and professional careers, it pushes me to prioritize my academic identity. My athletic identity waits for any opportunity it can get to see the spotlight, but the current environment in sport and persistence of these perceptions of male dominance continues to impact on my experiences and ambitions, and ultimately my identity. Many female collegiate athletes wish they could embody their athletic identity, but are pushed by society in the opposite direction. How might the sporting world transform with the reshaping of society's conceptions of females in sport? What would happen to the identification of female athletes in college if we were promoted as the main show? Work so hard, forgot how to vacation.